Let's assess the memorability stats of
Paul Atreides, Duke of Arrakis!
As many of you already know, Paul comes from the world of Dune, a vividly imagined sci-fi realm crafted by world builder Frank Herbert. It's a world brimming with political scheming, ecological complexities, and cultural tapestry. Numerous campaigns have attempted to adapt this universe, but none have been as well received as the version created by this game master. In this campaign, popular player Timothy Chalamet mains Paul Atreides, adding to the list of other figures he's played such as Willy Wonka, Hal from The King, and Tom from Interstellar. Paul Atreides is of the tragic hero class, figures that possess virtues such as courage, intelligence, and determination, but also harbor inherent flaws that inevitably lead to their undoing. He has many abilities such as narrative gravity, prophetic insight, and symbolic resonance. Later I will go into the effect of how he uses these abilities and whether or not they make him more iconic. We'll begin with distinctiveness. I want you to imagine that you're standing in front of a large crowd. In it is every character from every show and every movie you've ever watched. How easily would you be able to find this figure within this crowd? At first, this task may seem very difficult considering that he looks like an ordinary human with no striking features to set him apart. But there's one notable exception. The eyes, not so much the blue iris, but more so the blue that spills over into the normally white sclera, a result of prolonged spice exposure. They're even more noticeable when described by Frank Herbert. This is, however, a very small detail that one may not immediately lock onto in an initial glance without being terrified in the bottom example. It's also worth mentioning that this figure commonly sports the nose tubes and wearable Brita filters of the local people. This is something that's easily recognizable and not found in any popular series that I can think of, earning this figure a solid 7 out of 10 for distinctiveness. What counts as an iconic moment for a prominent figure? Maybe it's mounting an enormous, typically hostile entity that even high-level players wouldn't dare to attempt. What about storming into a war room with millions of tensed knife-bearing warriors, declaring that none of them can face you and winning them over by reading their memories? Maybe it's standing on a ledge over that crowd as your atomic heirlooms decimate your enemy's forces. From wishing fragility upon your first cousin's melee weapon so that you may strike him down at the unannounced family reunion to shutting up a witch who forced you to endure excoriating pain, yet doesn't even carry a broomstick. This figure has many iconic moments, earning him an 8 out of 10 in that department. Story impact. By virtue of selecting the protagonist role, it goes without saying that one would typically earn a 10 out of 10 for story impact, especially when many of those around you believe that you are the prophesied chosen one, willing to give their lives for your cause despite you having denounced this title, especially when you bring your opponent's extraction rate of a valuable resource to a screeching halt, and they replace the man in charge with a sociopath who decimates your adopted home, but on the bright side your nickname is more infamous than Billy the Kid. And especially when you overthrow the Emperor after defeating the sociopath in a duel and then start an intergalactic war when the other great powers refuse to accept your rise to the throne. Social influence. Not only is the campaign that features this figure extremely popular, but the brilliant performances of all the players have even encouraged many to read the source material. This figure is even being compared to other well-renowned figures from other Western films and Eastern animation. Many have called him their favorite genre of character. Skits and parodies are being made across social media and other campaigns about him and his hype man. Many costumes and outfits have been made to mirror the mood of the figure and the campaign at large. Discussions have been generated surrounding the message of this figure being a warning for fanaticism and how easily people can become enamored by false prophets. It's very likely that this figure will remain an ever-growing presence in pop culture, and their campaign an established event comparable to the release of a Star Wars or Marvel film, earning him a 9 out of 10 for social influence. Relatability. The average person doesn't own nuclear warheads, the average person isn't a member of the nobility, and the average person wouldn't be successful at dodging a spray of bullets. However, many can relate to the themes of love, betrayal, and mental breakdown experienced by this figure. Some have lost fathers to death and mothers to bad influences. When asked, one response I received from strangers on the internet was that they related to Paul's socially withdrawn aptitude. So, while very few of us can say they were peacefully traveling across the galaxy one year and then leading their fanatic supports into battle the next, many can relate to being given a responsibility of proportional weight in which it feels like everything is at stake, earning the figure of 5 out of 10 for relatability. The prevalence of their narrative gravity in impacting the story, the production of iconic moments by their prophetic insight, and the social influence generated by their symbolic resonance have allowed this figure to be very iconic across the globe. It's always refreshing to have a new addition to the lineup, so please consider subscribing for more content like this. What rating would you give this character for each category? Leave a comment down below.